Oral Discussion Teaching Model by Donna Zimmerman, Minot State University. Characteristics of the oral discussion model include students are expected to interact with each other as well as the teacher. This is referred to as reciprocal influence. It also entails several student responses to each teacher question. It requires students to use a variety of modalities in order to assimilate ideas. The purpose. Oral discussions allow for students to obtain a greater understanding of the material through conversations with fellow students, building upon the remarks of their peers. Before the lesson begins, students must understand how to engage in discussion, the give and take of conversation, be informed on how discussion creates learning, allows them to use their own experiences to add to the lesson, feel comfortable sharing their ideas in the classroom, make a space free of judgment about their ideas. They must be given leeway on the discussion. While boundaries are necessary, there must be some leeway to allow for creativity. They must also be graded or assigned a value to the discussion. If there is no benefit to speaking up in class, many students won't do it. Understanding the real-world application. Knowledge and skills gained will be useful in school and work settings. Additionally, students must know how to listen to someone who knows something that he or she doesn't. They must perceive which questions to ask for clarifying an idea's meaning or value, be open and respectful enough to imagine that a new and strange idea is worth attending to, and they must also be inclined to ask questions about past statements hiding assumptions or confusions. Don't just accept what another says. Be confident to ask for clarification of their information. Phases for the oral discussion model. 1. Identify the focus for discussion. 2. Pose the question for discussion. 3. Foster participation. And 4. Summarize the students' positions. Phase 1. Identify the focus for the discussion. The teacher must first identify the focus of what the lesson will be. Example: today we will be discussing business ethics and social responsibility. I will begin my lesson by showing a video with an overview of our lesson. Continuing in Phase 1, we will identify at least 6 questions for the oral discussion to begin. We'll start with 2 factual questions. These are the first level of questions students should be able to answer and will be a regurgitation of the information they just learned. Need at least 2 interpretive questions. These are questions that require the students to think deeper, making inferences from the material presented. And lastly, we need at least 2 evaluative questions. This is the highest level of thinking questions, which will question the material and how it relates to the world around them. Additional considerations to be taken into account is don't be vague. Don't ask, "What do you think?" Be specific. Give me one reason why you think the chicken came before the egg. Next, don't play favorites. Be sure to call on your quiet students as well as those who actively participate in class. Don't fear silence. Students need time to think. Don't talk and give them time to think and respond. And don't allow students to talk over one another. We must have mutual respect for each other in the classroom. Phase 2. Pose the question for discussion. The teacher can use 3 types of questions. First is the key question, or umbrella questions that supersedes all other questions. These questions must encompass the whole of the topic, allowing for additional questions, and cannot have a single correct answer. Next is the devil's advocate question. The teacher will take a position that they know will be controversial. And the last is the student questions. In this one, before the lesson begins, the teacher will ask students to generate questions based on their own experiences and prior learning about the topic. In my lesson, I'm going to use the devil's advocate question. I'll start off with, some people argue that it is unethical for soda companies to sell sugary drinks linked to certain health problems. Phase 3. Foster participation. Room layout can help encourage participation. First is a whole class roundtable. One big circle of students. This allows for students to see and hear what is being said to and by others. The next is the buzz group, or is a heterogeneous group of 4 to 8 students. In this group, there's a recorder, a reporter, and a facilitator. The group uses factual, interpretive, and evaluative questions to come to an agreement on a response to the teacher-posed question. The last is the inner circle. We'll split the class into 2 groups. One group is engaged in the discussion, and the other is the observers. The observers will keep track of speech incidents, determine the reason for silences if they occur, and evaluate the discussion itself, giving a grade to the participants. Then the students will switch roles and do the same process. In my lesson, I will choose to use the whole class roundtable so that we can go around the room and do our best to get each individual to participate and add to the discussion. I will award participation points and keep a tally of student contributions. Phase 4. We will summarize the students' positions. There are 3 ways to do this as well. One is the whole group synthesis, in which the teacher writes the students' ideas on the board and the students will write a paragraph summarizing what was shared. The second is a small group synthesis. The small groups of 4 to 8 will identify salient ideas that they can all support to share with the class. And the last option is personal synthesis. Each student will write a brief statement of personal belief. This enables the students to show what they do or do not understand relevant to the lesson. For my lesson with high schoolers, I would choose the personal synthesis option, as students will often be more expressive in written form, and I will be able to see how well the students understood the lesson or if we need to revisit the topic. Variations. First one is a tutorial, or groups of 4 or less, mix students of high ability with students of low ability for a mastery skill task. This is great when used in things like mathematics. You will pinpoint the learning problems. What don't they understand? Next, you will provide the requisite knowledge, the tutor teaching the information, and helps in practicing with the specific skill. And then encourage the tutee students to ask their own questions and direct their own learning. The second option is the inquiry group, which is a group of 6 to 10 students used in a discrepant event. The group will try to solve the teacher-presented problem. Example, how to remove an eggshell without using your fingers. Just to save you guys from going and Googling this, I'll let you know to use vinegar. It will dissolve the eggshell. And the last option is the Socratic Seminar, which is a group of students of 25 or less would read a common text or study a certain topic. They would respond to teacher questions, classmate questions, and supplying answers based on facts from the text. If anyone was in our class last term in Dr. Khan's class, we did a lot of this. This is the model that I've chosen for my lesson, starting all students off with the same video, and then we'll progress to discuss that topic. The diverse classroom. This model works well with cultures that tend to be more orally based learners, especially with the numerous ELL students that we will encounter. It's also an effective use of the oral discussion model accommodates both field-dependent and field-independent learners. This allows students to be creative and expressive, and it demands students present ideas logically and use factual knowledge to ground their personal argument. Technology and value-added applications. The biggest technology that you could use would be to use video conferencing. This allows for role models for minority students to be brought into the classroom. It also gives students visual stimuli and imagery to support their learning styles. Lastly is the mind-brain connections of the oral discussion model. This model is a great model for my high school students, as they can begin with a concrete subject and move toward abstract thinking, which is prevalent for this age group. High school students are constantly questioning their lives and surroundings, so this will work well with their natural curiosity.